Hello everyone, myself Madhushree. Today I am going to give my presentation on simulation, which is in the subject of learning and teaching. Okay, now the whole things I have covered with following headings like introduction, elements of simulation teaching, procedures of simulated teaching, characteristics, then precautions, then advantages, and lastly limitations. Okay, when we say about the simulation or simulation of teaching or simulated teaching, the first things which comes in our mind is what is simulation. Simulation means the action of pretending or imitating about something. Simulation teaching is role playing or rehearsal in which the process of teaching is carried out artificially. And definition wise, it is said that simulated teaching is the technique of learning and training which develops the ability in an individual regarding problem solving behavior. Overall, it is that a simulation is a strategy of teaching, and this technique is used to change the teacher's behavior. This type of teaching is also known as role playing or artificial training or simulated social training, etc. And some of the legendary peoples are also defined the simulation as Webster dictionary wise. Simulation is defined as giving the appearance or appearance of or effort of to have characteristic. And according to Fink, it is stated that simulation is the controlled representation of reality. Now, next part is elements of simulated teaching. As simulated teaching include three elements, they are diagnostic elements, prescriptive elements, and evaluative elements. Diagnostic elements in which teacher used to diagnose the problem regarding the topic the students are facing. Teacher uses different techniques to diagnose these problems. When they have diagnosed the problem, then they solve the student problem by using teaching skills and the ability they have. And after that, after solving the problem, they go for evaluation, in which they will try to know that the work they have done for solving the problem means how much they have or they were successful or unsuccessful. They try to evaluate these things. Now, next part is procedure of simulated teaching. As in simulated teaching, the pupil teacher plays both the role, that is the role of pupil and the role of a teacher. In the class, one pupil teacher becomes a teacher and the rest play the role of students. As according to Cruikshank, pupil teacher has to play three roles, that is the teacher, the pupil and the observer. Okay, before starting teaching work in the real class, training through the technique of simulated teaching is provided to the pupil teacher. The following are the main steps in this technique, which I will discuss one by one. First is assignment of roles. In this technique, first of all, the roles are assigned to the pupil's teacher. In this, such pattern is adopted that all the pupils may function as a teacher, students, and the observer. After that, the selection and discussion of social skills for practice is done. After assigning the roles, some specific social skills are selected and these are discussed. Then the topics related to the selected skills are practiced. For practice, these topics are selected in which the related skill get fit in. First of all, one topic is selected for practice, then it is decided which should be the other topic, so that the other pupil teacher may also go for practice in accordance with their assigned roles. Now, next step is preparation of work schedule, in which it is decided which people should start this simulated teaching, when it also be decided that when it should be finished, who should give it a finishing touch, who will intervene, etc., etc. Hence the entire work schedule is to be prepared well in advance. After that, determination of observation technique. In this step, decision is taken about the type of observation technique which is to be adopted. It also includes which type of data are to be collected and how these data are to be interpreted. Hence, this step is concerned with the process of evaluation. It also decides how the collected data is to be presented to the actor, that is the pupil teacher. After that, next step is organization of first practice session. As after all above mentioned preparations, the first practice session is organized. Feedback about the teaching is provided to the pupil teacher who practices in the practice session. If necessary, essential modification for the second session can be made. The data regarding first practice session is recorded so that the teaching behavior can be evaluated on the basis of such recorded data. This step also includes the mutual consultations and discussion. In this way, the session goes on and every pupil teacher enjoys his turn for practice. And last step is preparation or altering the procedure. After the first session, preparation is made to bring changes in the procedure or process. In this, topics are changed. Beside this, pupil teacher, observer and teaching skill are also changed. Hence, in this changed procedure, also the roles of pupil teacher are assigned and all the pupil teachers are provided with opportunities for practice. In this way, the cycles goes on till the pupil teacher is trained. Now, next part is characteristics of simulated teaching. As this method is effective for the practice of teaching skills by the pupil teacher, because pupil teacher are learner, so it will help them to face real classroom teaching. This gives confidence to pupil teacher. It is very convenient method, means it is very easy to handle. No too much preparation is required. This method can be used in research work, means if teacher is going for the research purpose, this technique is very much helpful. This method can be used for rehearsal before going to the classroom teaching. Effective feedback can be provided by this method, as the pupil teacher, if pupil teacher required any sort of help for the improvement, this strategy is very much effective. Now, next part is precautions. There are some precautions which should be observed while starting simulated teaching process. First is this technique, the pupil of the same subject should go for practice. It means if science topic is to be discussed, then the pupil teacher of science stream should be the part of this process, because the pupil teacher of same stream for the same topic will understand the things clearly and they will give the real feedback about them. Next is for practice, the pupil teacher should prepare micro lesson plan, because before going for the teaching purpose, if they have a micro lesson plan, they will go properly. Next is each pupil teacher should be provided with the opportunity of playing the roles of the teacher and the observer. Means if any student not getting the chance for the role of teacher, then this should not be done. And each and every student should get the role of each part. During the techniques, the teacher and the observer must stay in the class, as it will lead to seriousness and discipline. At the end of the teaching, there should be a discussion for diagnostic purpose, as in this discussion, good activities and behaviors should be appreciated and some suggestions should also be presented in order to improve the behavior. Now, next, there are many advantages of this technique which I am going to discuss. First is, by using this technique, relationship between theory and practice can be established. As what we have studied theoretically is now must be practiced practically, and how we will execute our teaching method. For this technique is very much helpful. As next, this technique helps in acquiring some classroom manners, as there are lots of things which we have to know, and how we will manage the class when we will do the real classroom teaching. This technique gives that much of knowledge. Now, next is self-confidence in teaching develops through simulated teaching, as it creates self-confidence to face the problems personally. The use of this technique enables us to study and analyze the teaching problems, as during teaching there are lots of problems comes, and through this technique we come to know about these problems, and also know how to solve and how to sort out these problems when we will do the real classroom teaching. Now, next is the limitations about the simulated teaching technique. The use of simulations cannot be made in all subjects of the curriculum, as there are some streams and some subjects in which this technique is much more effective, not for all subjects. This method requires a lot of preparation on the part of the teachers, as before going for the teaching, the teacher should prepare a micro lesson plan, and they should know what skill they have to improve, or they have to be in perfect. These are the things which they keep in their mind. At the initial stage, means for beginners, some may face difficulty in practicing the teaching skills, such as asking questions. Means as they are beginners, so they don't know what they should ask and how they should ask. So these are the problems. Learning is a serious activity which is highly individualized, needs concentration on the part of the learner. As they must handle this activity with seriousness, so it is the limitation of this technique. This simulation is a play which lowers down the seriousness of the learning, and it is doubtful whether any worthwhile learning takes place through this simulation or not. So these all are the limitations of this technique. I hope I have completely discussed all the part. So thank you for